Good evening. It's 22 to 2022. 22 to 2022. How's that for a date? At least that's in the Netherlands. In the US it's a little bit different. Then it's 222 to 022. Well, let's start the show. Welcome back. First stream this week. I'm going to continue doing some Blazor stuff, especially probably entity framework, updating a database, and doing some other things there. I need to sign into my code window first before we can enter that. A little bit late again. It seems to be trending to be late. And I'm also going to start or end a little early today because I have to get up very early tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. to drive all the way to Rotterdam for one of my office days. Let's connect to the code window there. We'll share this in a minute. Connect RDP. Download. Open. Bear with me a little bit. Where's my password for that? Connecting. Why is it connecting so slow? Yes, it's running. Let's move to the other window there. There we are. Quickly start Visual Studio. There was one important thing happening today. Well, there were more important things. But one of them was, if I can get it to show. Come on, copy. First start here. What are we working on today? Software and software, the website. So what happened today? Today happened announcing .NET Preview 7, .NET 7 Preview 1. Yes, you are allowed to put cookies on there. Two things there, ASP.NET Core Preview 1 and Entity Framework 7 Preview 1 are also released today. And we are celebrating the community 20 years of innovation. .NET Preview marks the first step forward towards the next 20 years of .NET. Lots of roadmaps, but this is not what we are going to do today. First I want to finish some database stuff and some refactoring maybe, and then have a look at this next week. Nullable annotations for Microsoft extensions. Yeah, so good news. And the other thing was the Entity Framework 7 Preview 1 as well. Targets.NET 6. That's interesting that the Entity Framework 7 currently targets .NET 6, not .NET 7. Okay, well, I will read up on this next upcoming week, and let's discuss it next week, next Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Thursday is usually office day. Microsoft Office, not my work office. So let's have a couple of things to do here. Notepad. I want to refactor database to call it, we have gear in there, but I want to make that gear items to better reflect the content of the database. And I also want to have a look at the components. Test again to see if this works with what's it called, partial classes. And seed database. These are the three things that I want to have a look at today, and probably see the database before that. 1, 2, 3. And we all need to finish that before 11 if possible. And it's now 9 p.m. I want to get this finished before 11 p.m. So let's have a look. So there's two things that we need to find here. It's Google remove migrations, I think. Entity framework .NET Core remove migration. Managing migrations. How do I delete a migration? Do we have something from Microsoft as well? I'm always surprised. There's migrations, managing migrations. Remove. Sometimes you add a migration, you realize you need to make additional changes to your Entity Framework core model before applying it. To remove the large migration, use this command. Copy. .NET Entity Framework migrations, remove. So go in here and have a look at the console. Where's the console? Developer console. That's the other windows, I think. Other windows. Where did they put the developer console? Console. Come on. Packaging, developer command prompt. I think it's this one. Software web. Let's paste this in. Let's have a quick look at the project itself. So what do we have in here? Oh, it's not in the web, by the way. It's obviously in the API migrations, and there's gear in there. And I want to make that gear items, because this is used at several places here, like in the database set. And I think it's looking better if it's showing us here a list of gear items, not of gear. I think it's more clear to what it means. So go back in here, let's see if we can do the same thing on the API. There. Build started. We did not check it in. All these things has already been applied. Revert it and try again. Okay. That would mean that the migrations are now not gone. There it is. The migration initial create has already been applied to the database. Revert it and try again. If the migrations have been applied to other database, consider reverting it. So we have to copy that. Let's Google that. I think it's asking for a rollback on the initial create as well. Because I've been being redirected to question, that's not really an answer. Warning, avoid removing listing migrations, resetting all migrations. By deleting your migrations folder and dropping your database. Okay. So that would mean deleting this database. This is generated. There, and where's the database? I think it's somewhere here, gear list. Now we have to generate it back again. first want to make some changes here. Like the model should be gear list. And all the references, they have been changed. Gear DB. On initialized something there. Let's build it. Good night. Najert. 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 Good evening. Oh. Good evening. I have to get back to finding the migrations there. Getting started, we have a blog, then install the tools, and then initial create. Create your database and schema. Okay, copy. Initial create. Let's see if that works. To undo this action, entity framework migrations remove. That's basically what we did here, but that did not work after the create, I think. Now we have the migration, but we don't have the database yet. There's the migrations. I can also do this from Visual Studio. Add migration from PowerShell. Update database in PowerShell or .NET Core CLI. Let's have a look. How are you today? I'm fine. It's a special day today. 22/2/2022. Database update. So this should generate the database, I think. Did that work? Let's see if we now have a database. There's the database. The next thing I want to, well, we can first have a look if it's actually running now. If you run this, I think it will be empty. Empty gear list. 2 warnings. 5 run. There it is. So gear 5. There's no gear here. Because it's empty, the database is empty. 22:22 p.m. special morning. Yeah, but in the Netherlands, the date is now 22/02/2022. That is today, and that's called a palindrome. And you can turn it around. If you turn it around, the 2022 is still the same. With the time with it, that makes it a little bit harder, because if you have the date and then the time, 2022, 20/02, 2020, 2022. Let's check. 22, that's the date. 2/02, 2022, and then 2022, something like that. You can't turn that around anymore. But it is special time. So that's in about an hour from now. It's now 21:22, 22/02, 2022 is now 21:22. So the next thing I want to do is not doing this on Initialize, but I want basically to seed the database. Let's see if there's a seed on the page. No. Entity framework, .NET Core migrations. No, not migrations. Seed data. Pre-populate the database with default data. Data seeding. There you are. Limitations of model seed data. You do this on the model. As example, this will configure the seed data for a blog on model creating. So where do you put this? If you need to apply migrations as part of the automated deployment, you can create a SQL script that can be previewed before execution. Why is C# not popular at Silicon Valley? I think that's usually because on schools you're learning JavaScript because it's has easier access. It's not attached to any company like Microsoft, and it runs everywhere. C# did not run previously everywhere, but that's now about to change, especially with .NET 6 and 7. So the most popular languages: Stack Overflow, popular languages. Oh, it's already heading there. Developer Survey 2021. overview, developer profile, countries. Yeah, the United States at the top. That's because that's also probably the biggest one. All respondents. School, a lot of people from school. Years of coding. 5 to 9 is the biggest one. I think I'm somewhere here. 30 years maybe. Years coding professionally. Also 1 to 4 people on Stack Overflow, only 1 to 4 years experience in general. Developer roles, developer type, full stack developers, education, age, gender. That's terrible. From gender, 91.67 people are men, women, 5.31%. That can be done better, I think. Transgender is not by 95%. And most people don't even want to say it. Race, mental health, technology. Most popular technologies, here you are. Most popular technologies, JavaScript is the top one, HTML, Python, all web technologies. About the gender percentage, yeah. Mostly men. Where's C# in there? That's in here. Then TypeScript, that's also started by Microsoft. Close together. Databases. I now use SQLite in my project. MySQL is 50.18%. Yeah, you say JavaScript the best way to get a job, but that's not always true, because the best way to get a job might also be COBOL. If you are mastering COBOL, and there are only a few people who master COBOL, then you have an excellent paid job doing COBOL. And remember, there are a lot of banks still working with COBOL because of their legacy code. And you can also say that if you are focusing on JavaScript, the pool of JavaScript developers is much bigger for a company to fish from. So if you are one of these people, how big is the chance that they will select you for this job? You have to keep that in mind. On the other hand, for instance, if you might be a C# developer, but maybe if there's not work in that area, but I'm pretty sure there is, then yeah, then that's also good content. Yeah. How do you say that? COBOL's job is not much. No, that's not really true. This means that the amount of people, most developers are just focusing on the other languages. But if you are the one focusing on COBOL, and there are a lot of job openings for COBOL, let's Google that. Job opening COBOL. Not so smart contract. Thanks for following. Does that mean you're not an NFT? Not so smart contract? Let's see if there is a developer COBOL here, non-stop developer COBOL. And I'm from the Netherlands, so these are only Dutch job locations. But there's a lot of stuff going on in COBOL. So don't underestimate it if you want to have a job. But honestly, if you now start, you probably are better off going for JavaScript or C#, maybe Python even. Depends on what you're doing. Interested in learning Solidity, but suck at it. Oh, that's bad. Well, that's the benefit of learning it. You're getting better over time. Databases, cloud platform. This is also incredible that apparently from my perspective I was thinking Microsoft Azure is much bigger, but in fact Amazon is one of the biggest at this time. Can I get a job in 2 years if I start to learn like COBOL language? I think you can get any job if you start learning now and do it for 2 years. There's a golden rule, I think, 10,000 hours. You have to spend 10,000 hours before getting proficient in some area. If you do it 2 years full time and just focus on it, then you will be an excellent COBOL programmer. And by the way, if you're programming, it's almost the same for every language. You just have to learn to adapt to the program language, and but basically the foundation is all the same. This is also interesting. Other frameworks, library.NET framework is on top, followed by NumPy and .NET Core, and basically these two are the same family. So this one is these two are really big. Git, well, that's obvious. Docker, I think that will be slowing down with a new license structure. Development IDE environment, Visual Studio Code really bumped up to 71%. Still lots of people using Vim. If you're, I think, a Unix or Linux guy. Operating system Windows. This is also incredible. Operating system Windows or Mac OS 25%, even though the market share, I think, for Mac is not close to 25%. What is doing COBOL? In general, I think COBOL was used by banks, and so typical structure if you COBOL. So legacy COBOL looks like this with line numbers there, but it's these days it's different. It's more like what you see in here, I think. I'm a COBOL programmer. I started with what is it? Pascal, COBOL, and Fortran. Fortran is also this ancient ancient language. It even works with these cards. Looks a little bit like VB, if you ask me. Well, enough of that. Otherwise I won't get my target here for today. Limitations of C data. Custom initialization logic. Straightforward, powerful way to perform seeding, data seeding is to use DB context saved changes before the main application logic begins execution. I'm so confused. What should I invest in? I'm not sure. Yeah, if I had a choice, I would start just with C#. C# combined with JavaScript. It's good, especially if you do it with Blazor, like what we do here. You have an option to interop with JavaScript as well. And just start with one language, I should say C#, because that's a relatively easy language to start with. You can create a very simple hello world application and start growing from there. Entity framework, seed data. Let's see if we can find some easy demo there, like this. That's a DB context. Set initializer. You can insert data in your database table during database initialization process. This will be important if you want to provide some test data for your application or some default master data for your application. To see data in your database, you have to create a custom DB initializer. As you created the DB initialization strategy, as you created in the DB initialization strategy chapter. Let's have a look at that. You have the context. Create database if not exists. Okay, so we have to go into, let's make this a little bit smaller there. And have a look at the developer environment here. Then go to the DB context. Where's the DB context? No, nothing found. Let's do it the other way then. DB context. There. DB context, where is school connection string? Let's see, constructor, I think, DB context. I think that's a constructor, CTOR. Database. Oh, where am I typing? There. Let's make this a little bit smaller and move that aside. Database set initializer. GearDB. Why is this GearDB and not GearDB context? DB gear DB context. New create database if not exists for gear DB context. Thank you. Thanks for stepping by. Appreciate it. Always like a good discussion. Let's see. Set initializer. New create database if not exists. Why is this not recognized there? We have another class, but why is this not recognized? I do have another project that I actually used in there. Let's have a look at that. This one. Solidity. What is solidity? Going from one thing to the other, solidity, not solitaire. Contract-oriented high-level programming language for implementing smart contract solidity, highly influenced by C++. That's interesting. Is it easy to learn? Pretty easy to learn. Okay. Have to look at that a little bit also. Let's have a look in here. Seed, can I find seed? DB context. I thought I had a seeding here as well. Data. No, apparently not. No seeding in this project. So why is this one not recognized? Initializer. Code first. Connection string passed in context beta base blah blah blah. No, create database with the name matches blah blah blah. No parameter. Context base. Base options. Next. If you already create a database after running code first, the first time, what about the second time? Will it create a new database? What about the production environment? How to alter the database when you change the domain model? To handle these scenarios, you have to use one of the database initialization strategies. There are 4 different initialization strategies. Create database if not exist. That's this is the default initializer. But why is this not recognized then? And no accessible extension method set initializer, accepting the first argument of the type could be found. Are you missing a using directive? That's the DB set. That's this one. You can also create a custom DB initializer by inheriting one of the initializers, as shown here. Where do we get the options here? That's the one that's not working yet. That's it itself. SQLite. I need a good example, but this is not the one, I think. Let's start with this one. Namespaces, column renames, entity framework, core, as a version 2.1, Entity Framework has a formal API for applying C data to the database as part of the migration. The hasData method of the entity type builder method, which is exposed to model builder entity T, accessible in the onModel creating method of the DB context class. OnModel creating. Author book with multiple classes. Note that the identity value for each book is provided, that the foreign key value has been set to that of the seed author. If you prefer to keep your onModel creating method clean, You can refactor these operations into an extension method on the model builder type. Creating a separate class. Before amending seed data, you can add and alter seed data during subsequent migration. Entity Framework Core will compare the data in the database and generate appropriate insert, update, and delete methods. So does this mean data seeder? So we put something like this. Model creating, where should we store that? Using data annotations. Cleaner way to do something on model creation. Even with my love for Dapper these days, I often have to break out event core, blah blah blah. Required string my fields. Where do we put this? That's not where we want to go. This is a separate thing there. What's this? Creating a model. Still think this is not code first. Entity framework. Code first. Configurations. Create a project. There we have create a project. Web API. Create something. SQL Server. I don't use SQL Server. Add a modeler controller. Like an author and a book. Now we have values controller. Controller, book serves context. Seed the database. Download. In this section you will use code first migrations. That's the database. Enable migrations. Customize the migrations. Data motion. It's all about creating a database. Come on guys, how is this done? Seed, where's the seed? Add migration initial, update database. Is that just a matter of adding configurations? Book service. Configurations. That's the data, there's nothing in there. Configuration, database migration configuration. Copy, let's bring that in. Can we just put it in a folder, migrations. New file, add class, configurations. Going to delete all these things. Automatic migration enabled is false. Kill this and then move these up there. Using models. No, that's not book service, that's the other models. Where are my models? Here. Soft as in software, shared models. We have an internal seed configuration class. That's the class, by the way. That should be book service context. Install package. Entity framework core. So this is not core. Darn it. Delete. Where did I put my initialization? This is not working. That's the gear list itself, referenced by this one on initialized. be done once. Could do that, but that's not really what I was looking for. Gear items. Should be gear list. This is gear item. How did it work again? Select this. Control Alt Shift dot something. Yes. Gear item. Thought I called it gear item. I named it gear item, I think. Gear list. Oh, this should be a gear item. Darn it. Good evening, Momo69 JA. This should be gear item. Let's find all the gear items here. Do you work with Excel by any chance? Well, not today, but in general, yes. So what's your question? Gear page, this one. Gear item. Gear item. New gear item. Question would be, how do I add an ifs function that if the cell has a non-number, the function still should work. If the cell has a non-number, if something is true, value is true, so if R17 doesn't have a number, so what is in R17 then? Nothing, or a string? I think you need to test it first if there's something in there. So you probably have to test it first if to see if it's actually a number in there. Now you have to put that in Excel, in that thing again. equals to EFS opening logical test, value true, value false. If b equals to 1, and then it's true, well, test. One. Oh, did I kill it now? Darn it. If string darn it needs to equals 2, and then that equals to 1, then it will be otherwise it will be this. Yes. No. What's there? Value if true. Logical test 2. Oh, value if true. Otherwise. Now there's not a number in there. There you are. But you have to test this first. Is number C#. You have to do the same thing again. That's probably if these days. Is number C1. Then it's if that's the case, then you put C1, else you bring in the number 0, and this should be if that's a number, then otherwise 0. Something like this, I think. Okay. No, don't worry, I don't want to waste your time. But I'm curious about this. Usually you do something like this first. Let's start with this. If C1 is a number, that's false. Then you say if is number is something, if that's the case, then you do something. Yeah. Yes. No. Now put in one node. Now it's a number. Now you know if something is a number. Then you should say if it's a number, then you put in the value of C1. Otherwise you bring in 0. See, now there's nothing in there, but if I put in 3 there, that will be 3. So now you get back to this one. And then you get started with your if string equals to 1, then it's 1, otherwise it's something else. And I'm missing something again. I know, you only need one argument. Now it's a 3. The thing is, this is only testing the true value. So why would you only test for a true value then? Because the only thing that you test here is if it's actually 1. But you want the other one as well, I think. What's the use of if s? Checks whether one or more conditions are met and returns a value that corresponds with a true condition. Ifs can take place multiple nested if statements and is much easier to read than with multiple conditions. So what if it's not what you're looking for? Well, you can do that with you put in the semicolon if you use the normal if. I would usually do something like I would say something like this. If that's a number, then you have C, or otherwise it's 0. So if you have a number, that's 5, giving you 5. But if there's nothing in there, that will give you 0. Because there's this one in, if it's not the case. And if you then need to do something else based on this, I would say if equals to if that one equals to 0, I should say that's true. Oh. Then I would say true. Otherwise, it's false. Something like that. Now you can say if there's 3 in there, there will be 3, and now it will be false. Yeah, the thing is, yeah, wait, Momo69JA says wait. So much explaining, yeah. can if you want. Just go ahead. The question is, what are you looking for? What is the purpose of your question? So with this one, you can avoid that there's something in there that's not a number. So if I type in test in here, that will still give you a 0. So it's basically if cell R17 is a positive number, then plus it, and if it's a negative number, minus. So on top of that. So you have your number R17. R17, there's something here. Yeah, so there's an arbitrary number in here. And you want to put something, you want to add a number if it's positive, and if it's negative, you want to subtract something. So the first thing you need to know if this is actually a number. That's basically what we have here. Eh? If R17 is a number, then it will give you R17. That would be the first part. This is the thing. Well, let's make it green to be positive. So the next thing, because now you determined if there's a test in there you can do nothing, but then it's 0. And then you can say here, if that one is, I should say if opening that one is bigger than 0, then you can make that be +1 plus 1. That's the one option. B1. So it's 0 is doing nothing. If it's 1, it will add some 1. But now you need something like -1. That's not covered yet, because you want to do a separate thing. If that one is smaller than 0, then you want to make that be to -1, otherwise be 2. So if it's 0, it should be same. If you make it 1, then it should be adding 1. And if it's -1, it's making it -2. So if you combine all these things, then instead of B2, you put in the values that you have in here. Oh, escape there. Copy, and then turn that in there. That's fairly complex. So now you can delete this one. So -2, this will be -3. If it's 0, it will be 0. And if it's 1, it will add 1. And now you want to also bring this one in. On the place of B1. This is really complex. There. There. How is this possible? This is a bit of overkill. I wonder if that's still working. Yeah, still works. Yeah, you should pick something else, I think. If it's -1, it's -2. So if you delete this one, if it's 0, it's 0. And if it's 1, it will be adding 1. But that's crazy. Yeah, I see that you might use the if-s maybe in there somewhere. It's easier to separate them. That's really crazy indeed. But it works. I would really go for the other one, for the other option. Like this. Oh, it's another one. I think, yeah. If you do it in 3 steps, then that will actually work in there. If I do this, will that work? Yeah, it still works. So now D3, this one can go. Zero, -1. 2 makes it 3. So that's the first one. Let's see if I can put it in there. And that's the second one. Oh. Second one. So if you put your value in C#, C1, you will get your result in B3. Yeah, thanks for the follow. Well, good luck. Now I really don't know where I was in my thing there. Let's kill the migrations there again. And the database. Where is the database? There is the database. I should also remove the shim things, I think. Now go back to the terminal there. Add initial create. It's not seeding what we are doing now, but just poor man's seeding once. And now we do the update again. Yeah, then run this once. F5. Why is it breaking there? Yeah. Let's have a look if there's an initial gear list now. 5. Oh, it's closed unexpectedly. Was that the previous one? The creation of the gear list. No. There. It's getting in there. I feel like this is doing nothing. Oh, it is. It did. Cool. Oh, and why is it now empty again? So at first I got the other option. Then starting here somewhere. What if I stop this again? Let's see if the database is now having some information. Loading. Gear. I think my gear's not loading. Oh, wait. I disabled the, because I create a gear list there, but it's not inserted. Yeah. Well, I guess I need to wrap it up now because I have to get up really early today, and I got I lost a lot of time doing all these side things. I have to look at this again some later time. I think next Tuesday again. Thursday I will be doing the office development again, working on the add-in. So let's wrap this up now for now, because I probably won't be able to find a good solution here at this time. At least I was able to rename, refactor the database. But I simply just don't have enough time to, so I've did refactoring. That's good. That can be off the list now. That needs to go into my notes. Also, we'll have a look next week at the preview, the .NET Preview 7, .NET 7 preview, I should say, because that's hot from the needle, hot from the press. How do you say that in English? Yeah, so pretty short stream today, but anyway, let's move to the main window here. Thanks for watching. Besides what we targeted to do, we had a lot of other side discussions from the chat. That was really cool. We love to do discussions with the chat, and if you have questions, you can bring them anyway. We try to have a look at it, because that's our main goal of this stream, is to learn from things and see what we can do to make the world a little bit better, as opposed to what is happening currently with Russia, and shame on them. But no politics here, only software development. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next Thursday in about 2 days. If you like, don't forget to follow the stream if you're on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, or if you're on Twitch, follow the stream, and we'll see you then next Thursday again, and that will be 24/02/2022. That's terrible. Today is 22/02/2022. Thursday will 24/02/2022. See you next time, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.